From pop culture to politics, this is the Michael Medved Show.
And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth. It is a great day in the sense of maybe, just maybe, a dramatic turning point day. The turning point in Iran involving the war between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. But also maybe a turning point politically. Yesterday was primary day in Florida, in Wyoming, in Alaska, and the primaries and their results have led Juan Williams, the Fox News commentator, to ask a unthinkable question. What was an unthinkable question really yesterday or the week before or the month before? The question is, have we reached the end of the Trump era in Republican politics? Have we reached the end of a domination of the Republican Party and really of American politics in general by one man, Donald John Trump? We will get to that, taking a look at the double blow in Florida, his home state, where Trump performed, let us just put it this way, below expectations or claims. There's also much more going on. We'll be talking to Juan Williams about that. We'll also be giving you a sample of what Natalie Harp's brother does to try to attempt to explain her infatuation with Donald Trump, and George Will on marijuana, another point to consider. And then, yes, there is the U.S. debt, which could be as much of a threat as any foreign power in terms of American security and the American future. Meanwhile, this news break from Iran, according to CNN, for weeks, President Donald Trump has tried willing positive developments with Iran into existence without much success. Yesterday, he seemed to adopt a new approach. Trump told top administration envoys to halt their conversations with Iran, that according to a U.S. official. Additionally, White House officials have recently communicated to political allies that they are shifting their strategy, going from hammer Iran ASAP as soon as possible to now strangle them slowly over time. This according to a source familiar with the matter. And instead of claiming talks were proceeding well, which they obviously are not, and insisting that a new deal is just around the corner, they're going to have a solution, they're going to have an agreement, and it's going to be a signifier of great American triumph. Aside from that, President Trump has asserted repeatedly since the ceasefire signed in June fell apart. Trump has announced there was no diplomacy underway whatsoever. No talks, no negotiations, no agreements lying just 2 weeks ahead. This is a change of tune from the Trump administration. And meanwhile, following the change in the Trump administration, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, one of our closest allies in the Middle East, said it is halting all trade and financial transactions with Iran, adding further economic pressure, not military, on the Islamic Republic as the Trump administration pushes to isolate it. The decision by the Emiratis, announced soon after their government accused Iran of launching missiles toward its territory, was made, quote, in light of regional escalations that undermine regional and international peace and security. So said Afra al-Hameli, who is a spokeswoman for the Emirati Foreign Ministry. That was a statement that she issued late yesterday. She added that the Emirates were firmly committed to safeguarding the integrity of the international financial system. They're now talking about a financial system rather than a physical blockade or the exchange of fire that sometimes involves some of the shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The Emirates, located just 50 miles from Iran across the Persian Gulf, have nurtured close economic and cultural ties with the Islamic Republic for decades, despite political tensions between the two countries. Iranian Emirati trade was worth roughly $28 billion in 2024, when the Emirates were Iran's largest source of imports, ferrying electronics, precious metals, and other goods into the Islamic Republic, that according to World Trade Organization data. And that is a very real question. And it is a question that is also been aroused in terms of the U.S. national debt. And that question, according to the Washington Post, the U.S. national debt is likely to surpass 40 trillion. 40 trillion. Now a trillion is a lot of money. 1 trillion is a lot of money. 1 trillion is $1,000 billion. And what you're talking about with 40 trillion is $40,000 billion. It's an unimaginably large amount of money. The U.S. national debt is likely to surpass 40 trillion this week. That is months earlier than forecasters previously expected, in part because of billions of dollars in lost revenue from President Donald Trump's invalidated tariffs. The lost revenue has forced the Treasury Department to borrow more rapidly to cover the nation's bills. 6 months ago, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, projected that total borrowing would top out at $39.4 trillion this fiscal year. But on Monday of this week, just 2 days ago, Treasury reported that the debt already stood at more, $39.9 trillion and counting. And meanwhile, President Trump, according to The Hill, took a double blow in Florida and took a third blow in Wyoming. Wyoming is significant because even though it is the smallest population, the lowest population of any state in the Union, Wyoming has also been a area of great strength for President Trump. He won there in all three of his elections when he has been on the ballot and been the Republican nominee. And he won big with 20 points advantage. So what happened in Wyoming? And what happened in Florida with an embattled, scandal-plagued Republican incumbent losing his chance at renomination? We will be back with that and more coming up concerning the primaries in Wyoming, Florida, and Alaska, which could determine the future shape of the Senate and the House of the United States. We will be right back. And in The Hill, which publicizes all the comings and the goings and the ups and the downs regarding the Senate and the House, The Hill features the headline, Trump takes double blow in Florida, third in Wyoming. It's not that he finishes third, it's that he had a third blow against his control of the party. They write that President Trump suffered a pair of losses in Florida's primaries and another in Wyoming yesterday, as three of his endorsed candidates were defeated in key primaries, showing the limits of his influence with sagging approval numbers. Now, a lot of people are completely transfixed and paying very intense attention to all of the publicity surrounding Natalie Harp, who is a 35-year-old aide and confidant and close, in fact, inseparable follower of President Trump and part of his staff. And the impact of Natalie Harp, if anything, regarding President Trump's political power remains to be seen, because this has only recently come up. And it was, of course, part of the subject of a scathing speech by John Ossoff, the senator from Georgia who's running for re-election and may have gained an advantage in his drive for re-election. He's a Democrat. That speech may have focused new attention around the world on the Natalie Harp. And one example is a British headline in the Daily Mail, which, yes, is a publication that loves scandal, and particularly scandals involving sex. And their headline is, Trump's blonde aides, Scottish love letters exposed, as her disturbing starvation confession resurfaces after screaming match with staffers. And they write in the Daily Mail, intimate letters written by Donald Trump's personal secretary in which she confesses to starving herself while working for him have resurfaced amid renewed security and scrutiny of their relationship. Natalie Harp, 35, has been one of Trump's closest aides for years and is dubbed the human printer as she carries bundles of news articles around for him to read. However, her devotion to the president has raised the concerns of Trump's top advisors and Secret Service. Now, this idea of starvation is actually illustrated in a whole series of photographs. There are about 10 of them that are featured in the Daily Mail. And this lady is very, very slender. She does look like she has been starving, and perhaps, as some of the speculation goes, suffering from an eating disorder. During his May 2023 Scotland golf trip, now this is from the Daily Mail, Harp ran behind Trump's golf cart because no other carts were available, later writing him a letter to apologize for embarrassing him while trying to keep up. Quote, I also am sorry I was an embarrassment walking the course in Scotland, she wrote in a letter to Trump. Harp then goes on to admit that she starved herself and forgot to sleep while working for Trump. Quote, I want things to always be right between us. I always know I've been distracted all week, forgetting to eat throughout the days and even forgetting to sleep and only catching a couple of hours at a time. Okay, if you're writing to your boss and saying you are so devoted to him that you're forgetting to eat and forgetting to sleep, this goes along with another letter that she wrote, or another communication that she wrote online, where she said, you're all that I care about, to President Trump. Harp then goes on to admit that she starved herself and forgot to sleep, and her letter concludes, with all my heart, Natalie. Harp's determination to remain by Trump's side was also on display in October of 2023 when she rode in the trunk of an SUV. This sounds like what my grandchildren fight over is who's going to be forced to ride in the trunk when you're going on a field trip and in an SUV. But this is a White House staffer. She rode in the trunk of an SUV after being told there was no room for her in the motorcade, taking Trump to a New York court appearance. And she, of course, needed to be with him when he appeared in court. After staffers told her there was no room in the vehicle, Harp became livid and began screaming at them, insisting that Trump had personally asked her to accompany him, according to CNN. One advisor said that Trump, quote, likes the attention and the fact that she is 100% committed and loyal. She doesn't question, never questions, doesn't second guess, the source said. Harp spent the summer in 2023 sleeping in the women's locker room at Trump's Bedminster Golf Club so she could remain physically close to him, according to journalist Michael Wolff. Sleeping in the locker room. Coming up, we're going to play some audio highlights of Natalie's brother, who, okay, let's show all the cards. Natalie's brother has talked about her very publicly, and he's very, very anti-Trump. He's also a self-identified communist. No, not socialist, communist. But that is another matter. Again, why would she be sleeping in the locker room? Melania Trump once stumbled upon Harp late at night inside Trump's private quarters at Mar-a-Lago, an area typically off limits to anyone outside the family. More coming up about the Harp connection. That and more on the Medved Show. And on the Michael Medved Show, there is a lot of firing going on regarding the issue of Natalie Harp. Scott Jennings, who is a very pro-Trump spokesperson on CNN, and he says that Senator John Ossoff of Georgia, the Democrat of Georgia, insulted Natalie Harp, the presidential aide, by calling her a concubine, insinuating that the only possible reason she could have a job in politics is because she's a concubine. This is the charge by Scott Jennings about Senator Ossoff, which is much in dispute right now. This is clip 17.
He took an unknown presidential aide. She's not elected anything. She's not a household name. She's not a public figure. And he basically communicated that the only reason she has her job in the White House is because, hey, that's what Republican women are good for, right? Wink, wink. That's how they get their jobs in politics. I think he's a disgusting coward.
He didn't say that specifically clear, but your intimation is what you think happened. Go ahead.
Well, if you're arguing that he could have had any other possible meaning, I don't know how you would conclude anything other. You heard the crowd. They were in there clapping like seals. Now, the Party of Women likes to tell us that, we're here for women's rights and we're going to promote women. And then you've got one of their leading candidates for president out dragging an unknown woman who's gone off to serve her government through the mud, insinuating that the only possible reason she could have a job in politics is because she's a concubine for a politician. It's disgusting. He went on MS Now and got asked about it and he wouldn't defend it.
Get out of here.
He wouldn't defend it. He was a coward for not defending it. He's willing to do it in a scripted rally, but he's not willing to defend it after the fact. It's despicable.
Okay, first of all, John Ossoff never did use the word concubine. A concubine, of course, is someone who is a sex slave, basically. And no, Natalie Harp is not a sex slave. And she also is with Trump everywhere. And the things that Ossoff implied. What he said was during a campaign rally, he criticized Donald Trump, stating he wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar. There's no implication there about being concubinage or anything other than the fact that she travels with Trump everywhere and, again, has been reported to run behind a golf cart to keep close to him and to load herself into the trunk of an SUV. And Natalie Harp's brother says his sister thinks Trump saved her life. And that's why she has what her brother considers an unhealthy obsession with the guy she works for, who happens to be president of the United States. This is her brother saying that the basis for that is his sister's belief that Trump somehow saved her life during a bout with cancer. This is clip 12.
What do you think it is about her? What do you make of how much the president relies on her? We've learned a lot, from Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's new book, we've learned, right, about his incredible reliance on her at all hours of the day to post social media posts, just as one example.
Yeah. I think that Trump's best friends are people who are his fan club, and so she's his biggest fan. And so that's probably why he likes her. And she's good looking. She's got a good personality. I don't know.
I want to ask you, Preston, about something
she thinks that he saved her life. So somebody living with that kind of gratitude, that must feel pretty good.
Okay, the idea that she thinks he saved her life, it's because during his first term, one of the triumphs that Trump was very proud of was the right to try change, reform, that gave people a broader array of choices that they could make to treat illness. You had a right to try even unconventional choices. And one of them, she believes, saved her from an experience fighting against a potentially fatal cancer diagnosis. This is Preston Harp, who is Natalie Harp's estranged brother, speaking on CNN about that. This is clip 13.
After that, Preston, she had speaking slots at the Faith and Freedom Conference, at the 2020 RNC, right? She became very high profile and then started working for Trump. How much do you think she truly believed that Trump saved her life?
Well, that's an interesting question. But if she thinks about it, what he did was he made experimental drugs legal to try, and that insurance would pay for it. So it's not like he physically saved her life, It's kind of different. It's like Donald Trump didn't pay his own money to save my sister's life. So it really just depends how you look at it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Again, Preston Harp then goes on to blame their mother's politics for his sister's infatuation with Trump. This is clip 11.
Well, my mom raised us with the idea that American exceptionalism was the correct way of looking at things, that the United States is the boss of the world, that, slavery was back then, that was normal. People weren't bad because they had slaves. And honestly, and it's like Trump wants to take all those books out of schools. He wants to rewrite history. And so, I think that my sister, unfortunately, didn't break out of that delusion that my mom raised us with. And Trump is like everything that my mom taught us to respect. So I think that's where her infatuation for Trump comes from, honestly, because I don't think it's a physical attraction. Let's get real, Personally, I don't think so.
Personally, he doesn't think so. His sister is very elegant and slender and very blonde. And Preston Harp then speaks about his sister being among the first few who were flying in a decoy plane involving her selection ahead of cabinet members to travel with the president. This is clip 10.
And she was, of course, Preston, as we're all now aware, one of the very few people who did not include the Secretary of State or Treasury that Trump took off Air Force One via that catering truck. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that, if you're really friends and loyal to your team, why would you just go peace out and take another airplane when you think the other airplane is going to get shot down? Like,
okay, go peace out. And there is more coming up about Preston Harp laughing at the idea of his sister riding in a minivan, an SUV trunk. And why should that produce laughter if it's your sister? This is an unusual family. We will be right back to try to make some understanding there and more details on the outcomes of primary elections yesterday. That and more coming up on the Medved. And on the Michael Medved Show, Preston Harp and Natalie Harp may be brother and sister, but they're not close politically, not by any means at all. Preston Harp, according to some sources, has described himself as a communist. He is certainly somebody who has no MAGA inclinations at all. And his sister is someone who has devoted her life and even communicated to President Trump, sent intimate letters indicating, "You're the only thing that matters to me." And basically deeply, deeply devoted to President Trump politically and personally. But the story about his sister being required to ride in an SUV trunk to accompany Trump, that, it seems to Preston Harp, is an unhealthy obsession on the part of his sister. And here is what he has to say about it. Clip 9.
Your sister jumped into the trunk of one of the motorcade vehicles to go to the court appearance in Lower Manhattan.
that's really funny. I didn't even know about that.
I mean, what is your reaction to that? I mean, you're laughing, but I mean, is it funny or what? I mean, you know her, so that's why.
I'm sorry. It's actually kind of sad. That's obsession. That's like an unhealthy obsession with someone. If you're going to jump into the trunk of their car, like.
Okay, and wait, and running behind the golf cart, running behind it, because there's no room for her to ride in the golf course cart. That's also very peculiar in its level of devotion. Again, it's very peculiar also that President Trump would notice this, that this aide that he cherishes and values and who values him is running behind the golf cart. Why wouldn't he at least give her some space to ride along? Or maybe he could do the gentlemanly thing and to walk together with her. I know he's president of the United States, but he still can walk. And Natalie Harp's brother communicates to her as part of this lengthy interview that despite their political disagreements and certainly their disagreements about her attitude toward Trump, Natalie Harp's brother has this message to communicate. This is clip 8.
I've been emphasizing here, obviously, you know her in a way that no one else does as her brother, but you are obviously estranged from her at this time. But, you know, we see those pictures of you all as children and your family. If she was listening to you right now, is there anything you'd want to tell her?
Yeah, I love you. I hope that you change and that you wake up and you realize that everybody on this earth is part of a human family, and no country is better than any other country. And the history of the United States is unfortunately really sad, and it shouldn't be rewritten. We got to all come together and try to make it better.
Okay, try to make it better. There is some encouragement for people who believe that the way you make it better is by lessening, at least, or if not rolling back altogether, the dominant role of President Donald J. Trump, particularly with the Republican Party. The Hill has that headline, Trump takes double blow in Florida, a third blow in Wyoming. These are unlikely places in which to actually take setbacks for President Trump, because he's done remarkably well in Florida, winning it 3 times during his races for president. It's gone away from being a swing state, which it once was. And in Wyoming, it's together with West Virginia, was one of the strongest states anywhere for Trump's victory that he enjoyed in 2024. But coming up, we're going to be speaking with Juan Williams, who writes about the possibility that the Trump resistance 1.0 is dead after a string of primary losses. It's kind of been a rough set of primaries for heroes of the resistance 1.0, between Vindman losing tonight, Dan Goldman losing his seat, although there were other issues there, and George Conway getting only 6% of the vote in New York 12. But people want to move on. And that is what the election forecaster, Nate Silver, says of the result. And in terms of President Trump and Florida, the embattled Representative Corey Mills lost his chance of renomination against former TV reporter Ryan Elijah, who appears on track to win by double digits. Corey Mills had been among the president's strongest supporters in Congress since he was first elected in 2022, but he has faced mounting controversy and a House Ethics Committee probe into his conduct. The committee has for months been investigating various allegations of violence during dates and campaign finance violations, which Mills denies. The congressman hasn't been arrested or charged with the crime, but an ex-girlfriend of his was granted a restraining order against Mills for harassment. That was last fall. Mills has faced calls to resign or to be expelled from Congress, including from at least a couple of Republicans. 2 key members of Florida's Republican congressional delegation, Representatives Anna Paulina Luna and Mike Haradopoulos, endorsed Elijah, the challenger to the incumbent Corey Mills. Trump stuck by Mills, but ultimately did not include him in a round of posts on Truth Social that he issued shortly before the primary, boosting his endorsed candidates. Another of the president's endorsed candidates fell short in the race to succeed Representative Byron Donalds, who chose not to seek re-election, but instead mounted a gubernatorial bid. Donalds, with Trump's endorsement, easily cruised to clinch the GOP nomination and is the favorite to win the general election, given the Republican nature of the Florida electorate in all recent elections. Since 25 years since there has been a statewide Democratic winner in Florida. But this year they picked someone fascinating and unconventional. to run against Byron Donalds, the congressman from Florida, the Republican. It's a former congressman who actually used to be a Republican congressman who now won the Democratic nomination. His name is David Jolly, and he is formidable. Meanwhile, the president announced a last-minute pause on his planned 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian goods as the U.S. and its neighbor work toward a deal. Trump made the announcement just a few hours before the tariffs were set to take effect at midnight, saying they will be paused for 3 days. He didn't discuss other details of the possible deal in several U.S. states. The tariffs were to affect products from wine to hockey sticks to cement, said a senior administration official told reporters last month, saying they are a response to discriminatory trade measures against U.S. motor vehicles, dairy, and alcohol products. And concerning alcohol products, who was drinking heavily and wishing toasts and congratulating themselves after primary elections yesterday in Alaska and in Wyoming and in Florida, most of all? Well, it wasn't all people from the Democratic Socialists of America, but there was some of that. We will get to more about the future of politics in the immediate future with Juan Williams and This Greatest Nation on God's Green Earth.